For those of you who are new to this series, and introduce myself, I'm Kevin Repp, a curator at Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library at Yale. I started the series last year with the help of many colleagues as a forum for conversation about the role that art has played and continues to play in struggles around the world. We are now well into our second year, and we've heard from artists, poets, activists, and scholars across several generations in 4 continents, from Hong Kong and Nigeria to the Lakota Nation here in the US. Along the way, we've learned a great deal, and I hope we can learn more about the particular local challenges, as well as the commonalities that unite artists in a truly global conversation about the possibilities of art as a vehicle for social justice. Sometimes that struggle is fraught with peril. On this gloomy winter day in New Haven, I want particularly to recognize our friends in Ukraine and Belarus, but also in Russia, where times seem especially dark and threatening just now. I hope that we continue to work together to help spread the word about their courage and activism in such dire straits. Today, we turn to Afghanistan, another country that has had the misfortune of being in the headlines a lot recently, and to the brave resilience, creativity, and resistance of Sahraa Karimi, who will be introduced by Charlie Musser. Charlie is professor of American Studies and Theater and Performance Studies at Yale, and it is to him that we owe the great honor and privilege of hosting Sahraa's session of Art and Protest today. Before turning things over to Charlie, I just want to encourage everyone in the audience to please submit questions for Sahraa, and we will get to those afterwards in the Q&A session. Please put your questions in the Q&A and not in the chat. And now, without further ado, let me turn things over to Charlie.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I want to really thank you and the Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library for supporting this opportunity for Sahraa Karimi to talk about the situation of filmmakers in Afghanistan. Sahraa is an Afghan filmmaker and former director of Afghan Film, the Afghan Film organization, which was the country's state-run film company, established in 1968. Interestingly, Wikipedia still mentions her as the current president, though her vita indicates that her tenure in this respect ended as the Taliban seized control of the country in August 2021, and when she fled that country. You may have read about this in the August 30th issue of The New Yorker under the title As Told To, The Flight from Kabul. Sahraa is currently teaching at the Centro Sperimentale di Cinematografia in Rome, Italy, the Rome National Film School. Dr. Karimi has a PhD in cinema and filmmaking from the Film and Television Faculty of the Academy of Music and Performing Arts in Bratislava, Slovakia, and is the only Afghan woman to hold a PhD in cinema. She has directed 30 short films, 3 longer documentaries, and 1 fiction feature film. Her films have been have been shown successfully internationally and were broadcast through Arte France, BBC, Slovak TV, and many other European broadcasting channels. Her feature-length documentary, Afghan Women Behind the Wheel, from 2010, has received roughly 25 prizes from important film festivals. I had the pleasure of seeing this remarkable film when she paid a visit to my documentary film workshop via Zoom, and was deeply impressed by the way it explored the many challenges that women face in learning to drive. But then this topic becomes a means to explore the difficult and complex situation that women faced in that country, and just opens up in a really extraordinary way. I should add that the Yale Film Archive has acquired this film, and it's available to members of the Yale community. Her next feature documentary, Parlika, from 2016, is subtitled A Woman in the Land of Men. The picture tells the story of Surya Parlika, a mature Afghan woman who, after the defeat of the Taliban, decided to enter the political arena on the national and local levels. Again, it examines the social status of Afghan women during the country's transition from a totalitarian theocracy to democracy. This was followed by her first feature fiction film, Hava, Mariam, and Ayesha, which premiered at the Venice Film Festival in 2019. And here's a very brief synopsis. 3 Afghan women from different social backgrounds living in Kabul are facing a big challenge to their lives. Hava, a traditional pregnant woman whom no one cares about, is living with her father and mother-in-law. Her only joy is talking to the baby in her belly. Mariam, an educated TV news reporter, who was about to get a divorce from her unfaithful husband, but then finds out that she's pregnant. Aisha, an 18-year-old girl, accepts to marry her cousin because she's pregnant from her boyfriend, who disappears after hearing her pregnancy news. Each of these women has to solve her problem by herself for the first time. This film premiered at the Venice Film Festival, and Alan Hunter of Screen International wrote about this film that simple stories, sympathetically told, build into an engaging, accessible feature that will be welcomed at festivals and by international audiences hungry for fresh insights into the lives of Afghan women. I have to say, I always find it somewhat awkward to provide lists like this, although I know it's illuminating. But so I've been trying to sort of say something that I think is a little more unique or fitting. And I realized as I was going to introduce Sarah that this is what I wanted to say, that Sahraa Karimi is the Agnes Varda of Afghan cinema. And as a huge Agnes Varda fan, I can only say that that's a compliment. Anyway, we'll turn this over to Sahraa, and then again, I just want to urge you to put your questions into the I guess the Q&A. Right? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for compliment. It brings tears to my eyes. So thank you very much, Ali. And I try to very briefly to talk about storytellers, filmmakers in Afghanistan. I know that you hear a lot about Afghanistan recently, and about all what happened in Afghanistan, and all what is happening in Afghanistan. But I want to just forget about what happened after 15th of August 2021, and let's talk about before 15th of August. What was there? Because unfortunately, many countries, many people, they don't have a very clear picture about Afghanistan and Afghan cinema and Afghan stories and Afghan lives before 15th of August. For that, they think that, okay, what happened to us, we deserve it. But I believe that we don't deserve to have the Taliban back to the power, and to have to feel in this situation that we are feeling right now. So I want to tell about storytellers, and especially I focus on female storytellers, filmmaker storytellers. There are few very good filmmakers in Afghanistan, documentary filmmakers and fiction filmmakers, that fortunately most of the majority of them, there are female, they are women, and they made quite very good films, I believe in country like Afghanistan that it is a very traditional country, it is a very patriarchal country, and it is a very anti-woman country, telling stories in different formats, especially making film. It is a kind of, it is not art, but it is kind of protest too. It means that you protest against the wrong tradition, you protest against the wrong interpretation of religion, you protest against all those limitations and all those wrong interpretation of patriarchal society against women. So these women that I'm going to introduce you, and I'm going to talk about their films, they are filmmakers and they are storytellers, and they try through their films and through their documentary films, through their fiction films, to tell stories. And through telling those stories, they try to protest against all wrong wrong views and all wrong limitations that the society somehow force women to accept. First, it is next slide, please. Yeah, next one. Yeah, Roya Sadat. Roya Sadat, she is the first female director from Afghanistan. After these all female directors, there are post-Taliban female directors. It means that they started making films during these past 20 years, and they started like their career as a filmmakers during these past 20 years. Roya Sadat, she was the first female film director. She shot her fiction film 3 Dots, and which was the first somehow the first fiction film after the fall of Taliban in 2001, and she is from Herat, and she studied totally something else, but she had a huge desire to make films, and she made this film, and this film even maybe it is professional, it is not very very professional film, but as a story it is a very interesting story. And she through this film she wanted to tell to protest against patriarchal society and to protest against very traditional and anti-woman mindset society. The other one, next one. Alka Sadat, who is the sister of Roya Sadat. She is one of the best documentary filmmakers, I believe, in Afghanistan. Her first short documentary, Half Value Life, was very interesting films about women rights, women empowerment, and also fighting against injustice, and through portraying the first judge like in Herat. She's from Herat too, and this film somehow also had a very different approach, cinematic approach, like using poetry and also some kind of avant-garde approach, and also documentary all together, kind of a mix of many things together, and she made a very beautiful film. The next one. Diana Sardar, she is also a documentary filmmaker, and she made this 21st Person, which is about women in parliament. And her first films were always portraying women who broke taboos, who broke those cliches. For example, for the first time after the fall of Kabul, fall of Taliban in 2001, women started to be MPs, member of parliament. So like 20%, 25% of parliament should be female. So she made about a few of those MPs everyday lives, to show their struggles, that when they, not just to show them that how they become MPs, but to show their struggles, everyday life struggles with this patriarchal society. The next one. This is me, Sahraa Karimi, and I met Afghan woman behind the wheel in 2010. And this is also this Afghan woman behind the wheel. It is about women that they want to learn how to drive, but it is a big metaphor about how to drive their own lives. It talks about, this film talks about women rights and fights of women about for getting their basic rights. And and it portrayed through this driving license and getting driver license, it portrays the patriarchal society and many limitations that women were facing, and women are facing with that. The next one. Run, Rubina Run is another documentary by Diana Zagreb about sport women and about portray of the first female, Afghan female athlete that she participated in the Olympic Games. And it was also very interesting that how a sport woman is trying to get to this to Olympic, and before she get to this Olympic Games, and she struggled with many issues, and it is very interesting film too. So the next one. The Afghanistan Night Stories, again by Alka Sadat document. It is one of the very best documentaries about soldiers, about police, and about their daily lives, and from female filmmakers point of view, and it got many awards, and I think it was also last film of Alka that she made in 2015. Next one. Parlika, it is my film also. Again, it is portrait of Sahraa Karimi, but it is also kind of telling about history of violence against women in Afghanistan through a women activist. And I myself, I am very happy I made this film, because then she died a few years ago, and the only film that has been made about Sahraa Karimi, it is that film. And so through this film and through her personal life, we also tell about many struggles struggles that women are facing in Afghanistan. Next one. Wolf and Sheep, it is by Sharbanu Sadat. It's fiction film. Sharbanu is one of the very talented and very talented young directors like post-Taliban era during 20 years. And she started actually with documentary filmmaking, and then she started with short filmmaking. And Wolf and Sheep is a very it has a very documentary based, it is very observational film, but it is fiction, but it has very documentary based approach. And this film was in Cannes Film Festival and got award, and it is about shepherds, and about sheep, and about the daily life of them. And this film is one of the first films from Afghanistan that got award at Cannes Film Festival. The next one. A Letter to the President, also by Roya Sadat. It is fiction, and it is also a film about stories of women struggling, struggling with injustice, struggling with daily life, and struggling with many issues that women are facing in Afghanistan. This film also was representative of Afghanistan for Oscar in 2017, and also it went to many film festivals and got many awards. Next one. 1,000 Girls Like Me by Sarah Mani is one of the best documentary film that we have in history of cinema, like in past 20 years. It is about a girl that got raped by her father, and it is her story and how she's trying to get to justice. And this film got many awards, were everywhere, and it also saved Khatra's life, the girl that you see in poster of the film. And I myself, I really like that film. The next one. Ruqya is also a short film by Diana Sabir Jamal, and it was also about about a girl surviving a suicide bomb attack, and it was also at Venice Film Festival in short film competition, and it went to many film festivals. The next one. The orphanage, also by Sharman Sadat. It is her second feature film. It is historical film. It is about Soviet time and about those times that there were a very famous orphanage in Kabul. And through this film, she's she has a new approach to tell the historical film. And also it was an Afghan Film Festival, and it was a very successful film also. And this film also have been screened in Afghanistan, in Kabul. The next one. Hawa Maryam Aisha is my film, the last film that have been like made in Afghanistan before the fall of Kabul, and it was at Venice Film Festival. It is about 3 women that they are struggling with pregnancy. I wanted to show these films, introduce you these filmmakers and their films. You can go and Google and find more information about them, to tell you that women filmmakers and storytellers, they try to make films, and they try to reflect the reality of the society, and to in different documentary, fiction, short films, animations. There are many other films, but I choose like these few films that they were also internationally very successful. And also through these films, they wanted through the storytelling, they wanted to protest against injustice in Afghanistan. Most of these films are about women, about girls and their struggles, their challenges with the patriarchal society. So you see that the women issues and women participation in public life and being part of the active life was like center of the attention of all these filmmakers somehow. And they tried from different angles, from different perspective, and from different sides, they try to talk about these issues. Because during the Taliban, before the first time that Taliban came to the power, also they put many limitations in women's lives, and they didn't let girls go to school, they didn't let women go to work, and there were many limitations. So after the fall of Taliban in 2001, so filmmakers, artists, they try to show the reality of the society, and through showing the reality in filmmaking, paintings, theater, documentary filmmaking, TV series, any kind of art. They somehow they show also they protest against all these injustice that were going on in Afghanistan. But unfortunately, we were quite good in our fight as artists. We were quite good, and by making different films, by making and also not inside Afghanistan, but in international platforms, by showing our film, by screening our films, we were trying also to advocate for our stories, to advocate for Afghanistan, to advocate for women's rights, and to advocate for a progressive Afghanistan, and to advocate for a participation of women in social, political, economic, and cultural life. But unfortunately, in 2021, after this signing of U.S. signed a deal with the Taliban peace deal, unfortunately, the Taliban got a very they got some kind of confidence, and they started to take over many villages, many provinces. The explosions were a lot everywhere, and they started to kill many prominent women, journalists, some filmmakers, and some musicians. So exactly 2 days before the fall of Kabul, 13th of August, when the situation was very, very bad, I decided to write an open letter to the next slide. I decided to write an open letter to film communities around the world, and to ask them for support, to be our voices, and to not to forget Afghanistan, not to forget filmmakers. But unfortunately, I think I didn't know that 2 days later, our city, our country will be destroyed forever. Like destroyed, I mean from the not there wasn't any war, but it means that we lose everything. So there was the date, the famous date is 15th of August 2021. Next slide. That it was the fall of Kabul, and the fall of Afghanistan, and the fall of democratic values by the return of Taliban to power, and they entered the city. And I was in the town, I was in bank when all this happened. And then this photo, you see, it looks like a painting, but it is all the Taliban. They took over the president palace, and they take like this photo and they share it in social media. Then next slide. I think this is a video, if you can play. Yeah, it was yeah. So I'm sorry I used this video. I didn't want to promote India today, but this is the video that I could find from social media to show that what happened. And I, as a filmmaker, I when it happened, when the Taliban entered Kabul, it was my responsibility to let to the world that the Taliban entered the Kabul. So I started to use to make a film, to put it a video of myself. So then by sharing that letter, by putting this video, and international film community, they started to have a panel discussion about Afghanistan. They started to talk about Afghanistan, and they started to help Afghan filmmakers and female males to get out of Afghanistan during evacuation. situation. So we could somehow we could somehow advocate and to let know the world that to help filmmakers. And then next slide. And then our protest and our fight started. We filmmakers, we started our advocacy for free Afghanistan in various different cinematic platforms. And we started to create hashtags and to not recognize the Taliban, stand with Afghan women in Afghanistan, free Afghan women of Afghanistan, free women protesters. So we started like kind of to every views to every platforms. Each of us filmmakers like Sharbanu in her interviews, Saramani in different cinematic platforms, I in different cinematic platforms, we started to talk about Afghanistan, about our stories, about our lives, about our achievement, and somehow we started to protest against the injustice that we call it the Taliban. Then now our protest and our protest against the limitation of Afghan women inside Afghanistan continue. We are artists, especially female filmmakers. We are trying to create many hashtags and many activities in social media, and to encourage people to cooperate with us, to join us, to support us, different national, international. One of the next one of the hashtags, and which is nowadays it's going on social media, stand with women in Afghanistan, also created by filmmaker Saramani and her friends and other filmmakers. So then they ask everybody that they put they take a selfie and they put the hashtag stand with women in Afghanistan in their hand. So it is a video. If you can just, I put the Italian song there, so you can just watch that, how the solidarity. I don't know. Yeah. So you see that maybe you don't know these, some of these women that they joined this hashtag and this protest, and they are, most of them, they are filmmakers, famous international filmmakers. So we decided to, like, this is it was the initiative of Sahraa and other filmmakers together that to have this hashtag. So when we say that stand with women in Afghanistan, it means that stand with their stories, stand with their rights, and stand with everything. So women filmmakers, female filmmakers, they try to use any kind of platform just to advocate for free Afghanistan and advocate for women of Afghanistan. And also now we are trying, even also all these filmmakers that I introduced you, they are now in exile and they are outside of Afghanistan, but all of them, they are working on their project, on new project. For example, Roya is she's in America, and she's doing opera. Sahraa Mani, she's working on her new documentary film. Sharbanu Sadat is working her future film. I am working on my future film, and other filmmakers are working still. So we continue working, creating, and making films. Just do not let our stories die and our cinema die. So we continue our fight and our protest against the Taliban and their own limitations. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much. That was really immensely informative, and it's really wonderful to learn about these women filmmakers from Afghanistan. So, it was interesting. You sort of stopped in 2019. Would there be anything more to report in 2020 and even the beginning of 2021, or did things really begin to unravel in Afghanistan?
No, we didn't stop in 2019, of course, because I joined Afghan Film in 2019, and we started to have a national film festival. We had started to have very many short films, documentary films, and also we gave to many independent filmmakers permission to make their films. But all those films, some of them, they were in process of shooting, some of them the pre-production, some of them post-production. But unfortunately, the security situation got very bad and got very worse after 2019. And but people continue to live, and people trying to avoid all those unhappy days, but we believe that our government will protect us, our soldiers, army will protect us, so the international community will not leave us. But unfortunately, in 2021 August, everything stopped. All our activities regarding the creating films, creating artworks, and everything stopped, unfortunately.
Yes. Well, we have some questions in the Q&A. I encourage people to put your questions in the Q&A rather than in the chat. But let me ask one more before we turn to them, and that is, so this is really actually a quite impressive array of documentaries and fiction films that women were able to make in Afghanistan in that 10-year period of time, really. How were they funded? How did these women filmmakers find their financial support?
Most of them, for example, Sharbanu, she had a producer, a film producer, German producer. Most of them, they had co-producers. There are just 2 films that they are very independent. and one is my film, like my film, like Hawa Mariam Aisha and A Letter to the President. They are quite independent films, but other films they had producers, like foreigner producers, and also co-productions. So they were in big co-productions with other countries. So also during these past 6 years, 7 years, we were in very important cinematic platforms. So also producers and film productions, they were also they wanted to make co-production with Afghan directors. So we were quite in good journey, but unfortunately we couldn't finish it inside Afghanistan. But still, there are those directors. They are doing their films with co-productions.
So a couple people in the Q&A asked, how can we access these films? And I can have a very specific local answer, but maybe you could talk more generally.
Yeah, I think you can. My films, I think some of them, they are in European online platforms that you can watch them. My films are mostly in film festivals and in TV channels. But if you go and search those films, and there are always, they have a distributor, or they have like, you can find some address that when you can watch. For example, Shahbanu's films, The Orphanage was a movie. There is a movie which is like kind of, I think, application, online film application, and I think you can find those films everywhere almost. Just you need to search.
Mm-hmm. Let me just add that if you're part of the Yale community or New Haven, that Sahraa will be coming to Yale and to New Haven at the very end of March, right after spring break. I'm sorry, was that? And she'll be showing all three of the films that she mentioned in her presentation. And yes, I mean, this is, I have to say, it's inspirational. I agree. How can we access these films? I mean, I think that's not just a kind of passive question, but it's one that encourages proactivity. And I actually have some thoughts, but Sahraa will only not be at Yale, but she, you know, there's some New York independent film distributors that maybe you can meet, some people at the Film Society of Lincoln Center or the Museum of Modern Art that maybe you can meet. I mean, this would seem to be like a fabulous retrospective or special series of films that should really be shown. I know that's not a simple solution, but I also hope that the Yale Film Archive will be able to buy one or two more of Sahraa's films. Okay, so Suman Sandra says, "Thank you, Sahraa, for speaking to us and for your bravery. Do you think that the international film fraternity support has had an impact on your fight for justice?"
I think yes, because most film festivals, very important film festivals like Venice Film Festivals, Stockholm Film Festivals, like San Sebastian Film Festivals, and Berlin Film Festivals, they had a special panel discussion about Afghanistan. They invited filmmakers to talk loudly about Afghanistan, about issues of Afghanistan, and there were many filmmakers that they really in Europe and US, they provide other filmmakers like opportunities. For example, I could come and to Rome and to continue my career like as a filmmaker and also as a teacher, because I teach also. So some other filmmakers in Europe or in America, for example, they are doing their job, so they are not jobless and they are not just sitting and they are hopeless. Filmmakers and film institutes institutions and film community, they help them. I think that we filmmakers, we can support each other because our language is universal language. It is something that our stories can be told widely, and by supporting each other, we can also somehow support. For example, by supporting Afghan filmmakers, they can support Afghan cinema not to be died, and this is because the Taliban, they just stopped all filmmakings, and they just gave orders that any woman cannot appear in film, and there wouldn't be any actress anymore in films. So we need to like, we filmmakers from Afghanistan, female, male, we need to continue to work and to tell our stories. Even it is very hard to tell Afghan stories outside of Afghanistan, but still, you know, cinema is magic. You know, you can use many possibilities to tell their stories. So to not let Afghan cinema die. But of course, Afghan film community, international film community, they help a lot, and I think they are going to help more.
Thank you. So another question from Terry Marsh is, are there male filmmakers that are supporting the women filmmakers' work? And
I think male filmmakers also, they are not in very good situation right now, because they also forced to leave Afghanistan. But I believe that female film directors, mostly they help female film directors, and male film directors, I think we need help each other, because it is about storytelling. It is about our cinema. It is Afghanistan cinema in general. It is not just about female filmmakers or male filmmakers. But last few years in Afghanistan, the most prominent films have been made by women. And these female filmmakers that I just introduced you, they were like in very, very important platforms, and they were like ambassadors for our stories. So and they male filmmakers, they can find easily job, but females they have quite problem to continue their profession, because already in Afghanistan they struggled many problems, many issues, but we didn't give up, and we made our films, but we want to continue. And I think they are very talented, they are very brave, and we should support them.
thank you. Oh, here, I think, let's see, maybe we have some more that I have to pull down. So Terry also was wondering if you could talk about the film Wolf and Sheep.
Mm-hmm. Wolf and Sheep, I believe this is one of the very, very good films that have been made in Afghan cinema, and by Sardar. She is a very talented young filmmaker. Wolf and Sheep, it is very anthropological film. It is not like real exactly fiction. It comes from the memory. It is somehow based on unpublished theories of Anwar Shahbanu's friend. So it is based on the reality, what happened in his childhood. So this film is a very quite two and a half hours film, and it is about people of central of Afghanistan, about those villagers, like simple children and simple people, that they are just solving their daily issues, and there are love and there are hate. They are this is this film, I think, and this film, I think, is one of the very most beautiful films in history. History of Afghan cinema. I think that's a very unique film, Also, it is kind of metaphor about Afghanistan, about wolf and sheep, that we have in Afghan society, also wolf and also sheep.
So Margaret Spillane says, thank you for this remarkable presentation, Sahraa. Could you discuss something that frustrates you about the way the developed world imagines the lives of Afghan women artists?
Unfortunately, to be honest, the international community in general, they kept silent till now also. And unfortunately, during past 20 years, artists of Afghanistan, especially female artists, filmmakers, or any kind of artists, they did very, very good works and very valuable works, but we didn't have chance to promote it because unfortunately our government and also international community, they didn't invest in promotion of our culture or in development of our culture. So some artists that they stayed, they had this chance to be evacuated from Afghanistan, so they can somehow continue their work. But I'm so worried about those artists, especially female artists, that they stayed in Afghanistan and they cannot even continue their works because according to Taliban like ideology, or any kind of art, especially painting, is forbidden. So they are in great danger, and unfortunately international community in general, they don't care about artists and who is inside Afghanistan. They don't somehow they are silent, or they keep silent about women, that they are in very danger inside Afghanistan, and they are talking with the Taliban and negotiating with the Taliban, and they are trying to find a way to give them kind of recognition. But it is very clear that young generation of Afghanistan, female artists, women, we are all against the recognition of the Taliban, and we for that we created that hashtag "Do not recognize the Taliban," because they are anti-art, anti-women, and anti any kind of artistic work.
Okay, well, Zarina Gral says thanks. The films you talk about today explore the challenges of Afghan women, but do these films look at other injustices, the Hazara minorities, for example? Do any of these films look at the U.S. role in Afghanistan in a critical way? And then we'll continue. But why don't we start with that, and then I'll add to it.
I think this women, for example, wolf and sheep. It is about Hazara community in central Afghanistan, and there are many films that about U.S. and U.S. Kind of presence in Afghanistan, but these films, especially, they are talking about women issues in general in different section, in different part. So it is not just about ethnicity, about femininity and being a woman in patriarchal society. Most of these films, because most of these films, they are not going to ethnicities or ethnic problem. They are going to a more wider problem, which is women situation inside the patriarchal society. But there are films, documentary films made by other filmmakers, especially male filmmakers, that they really directly talk about ethnic problems, problems of minorities, Hazaras, Shias, or whoever minorities. That there are also many that kind of films that they talk about those issues. But these female filmmakers, there's usually they talk about they try to look to the issues of women from wider angle.
So I think another part of Zarina's question has to do with how do you see what's happening, in the last period of time in terms of how the U.S. is is dealing with Afghanistan. I mean, you know, they just decided to take the $7 billion that was in the sort of the Afghan bank but here and split it between 9/11, the victims of 9/11, and then the rest being used sort of indirectly through refugee resources, as opposed to like turning the money over to the Taliban to try and rebuild.
Many people, many, and I think majority of people, all of people of Afghanistan are against this decision of US, because that money is not US money. It is money of people of Afghanistan, and it is our reserve for difficult time. And also about 9/11, of course, we are very, very sorry about what happened, but we Afghans, we weren't part of that. We know that who were behind those attacks, and I think those countries or those people should pay the price, not Afghan people. And also sending money to the hand of the Taliban, it is also a wrong decision, because we don't know that how Taliban misuse those money against the people of Afghanistan. Those money are they are for the keep stable our economy. It is not just for daily use, you know. And unfortunately, people of Afghanistan, they were against that decision. We were against many decisions that America did, because we believe that America will not leave us. We believed in America and in our partnership in everything, but unfortunately there are some decisions that they somehow were wrong, and unfortunately people of Afghanistan, they paid the highest price. And people of Afghanistan are against that decision that the US government decided.
So a couple things here before, as we're beginning to wind up. But Barbara Grant says, can you put the titles, directors of the films you have discussed in the presentation into a document available to us so that we can look for them? I just want to say that this hour, Sahra's presentation will be available online, so you could gain access to this through the videos. Someone else also asked to know a little bit more about her visit to Yale, New Haven. Actually, we will be showing 3 of her films on like the 29th, 30th of March, and then I think the 1st or 2nd of April. There'll be lots of publicity. She is going to be a Poynter Fellow in journalism, and so that there should be a fair amount of publicity if you look for it. I should also say that I think that this has been announced by now that Sahraa is getting the Visionary Leadership Award from the International Festival of Arts and Ideas in New Haven, and they will be holding an event on her around that award that will happen on April 6th. So you can look out for that too through the International Festival of Arts and Ideas. So, you know, I certainly hope that we'll be able to have 1 or 2 more of her films in the Yale Film Archive. So we'll work on all that. Let's see if there's anything else. There's lots of, well, here's a question. Do you think Afghan filmmakers must seek reparations from the creators of the Taliban, those who funded them for a long time, in the real spirit of justice, calling out the real wolves? This is from Suman Chandra.
I don't know how to answer, but I think Afghan filmmakers, they don't believe in Taliban at all. So I don't know how to answer that question.
Unfortunately, it's my time to step in and wrap things up, which is my gloomy role in all of this. But I just wanted to say thank you very, very much, Sahraa, for an absolutely riveting presentation. I was so impressed, I think many of us were, by how many Afghan women became involved in film in what was really a pretty short window of time. It really is quite a remarkable story. And I'd love to talk to you more about that later on, about maybe when you come to Yale, about how that was possible, and how do people get, I mean, Charlie asked about the money, but the support to go ahead and make a career as a filmmaker in such a place where the situation had not allowed that previously. It's really amazing to think about that, but also all the work you're doing to support their continuing efforts today. Most of them, of course, being outside the country now. It's really quite remarkable. And one of the kind of themes of this series is to ask the question, what can art do that other forms of protest can't really accomplish? And I think that you answer that question very eloquently in your discussion of the storytelling of these filmmakers. Charlie is, I can share with the folks who have registered for the program. I can share with you all, I have your emails, any information that I can get from Charlie about the specifics of those screenings at Yale, and anything else, Sahraa, that you would like to share in terms of some of the names of the people and so forth. So keep an eye out for that. I will also send an email to everyone to say when the recording is up and available. It will be on Beinecke's YouTube channel, I'm happy to say. So open for anyone who wants to take a look at that. And with that, we've already run overtime. I just want to say, if you're not on the mailing list now, but would like to learn about future art and protest events, please write an email to me, kevin.rep@yale.edu, and I can put you on our mailing list. Just to put a shout out for Laura Rajkovic, who will be coming next week. She's got some great stories to tell about her experiences as the director of the Queens Museum, and trying to talk about what institutions like museums and libraries can do in terms of the questions that art and protest is posing. So keep an eye out for that. And with that, once again, my great thanks, which I can see are streaming in already from all sorts of people who've been on this call, to Sahraa, and also to Charlie for making this possible and for being such a great host to us today. With that, I wish everyone a very good evening, and see you hopefully another time.